Buying headphones is like rocket science. There's so much jargon going on, so many symbols, so many weird names. Well, guess what? We're going to simplify all of that in this episode of Elemental, where we talk about the smaller things in tech that make a much bigger impact on the real world. You can catch us every Sunday at 1 p.m. And if you love this series, do not forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon so that you're always notified of our latest videos. Let's kickstart this video by understanding different kinds of headphones and how they fit in your ear. Let's start off by understanding intraoral headphones or in-ear headphones. These guys come in two types. One of them is this, the earbuds, which rest on the outside of your ear and don't go inside all the way in. And then you have these guys, which are called canal phones. So they actually go inside your ear canal and provide some sort of decent noise isolation because they have these tips. Now, intraoral earphones are more practical than other forms of headsets because these guys can fit easily in your pockets. Well, these are wired ones, so they get tangled just like they got tangled right now. You also have their wireless counterparts, which are a bit more practical, but then they also have the whole issue of battery power and all of that. So you might want to think about those things separately and weigh your pros and cons accordingly. Moving on to the second kind of headphones, you have supraoral headphones or on-ear headphones. These guys basically sit on top of your ears just like this, but they don't surround it. So you will observe some sort of sound leakage, but these are generally more portable and more comfortable than circumoral headphones that we will get to in just a moment. And these guys, in terms of portability, they sit between in-ear and circumoral headphones. Now, since I have mentioned the topic of circumoral, let's come to them. These guys are circumoral headphones. You can see they are much more bulkier than these guys, right? And they sit around your ear, your outer ear. So you will have a very nice seal around your ear, and you will observe that there is little to no sound leakage from these guys. Now, these come in actually any kind of over the ear or on ear headphones come in two types. You have a closed back and you also have open back headphones. Now, closed back headphones have this enclosure outside them, which basically means that if you have a speaker inside the headphones, the sound coming from them will try to go out in all directions, but this enclosure basically prevents that leakage from happening. But that has another added side effect, and that is it introduces some form of echo or reverb. So it's not good for sound quality. Now, open back headphones do not have this casing, and so they can easily let air pass through to the speaker element that sits inside, so there won't be any air pressure building up around your ear cups. And also, you won't be observing any kind of echo or reverb that will affect your sound quality. Open back headphones are generally considered better by a lot of audiophiles, but they do have a problem, and that is other people can hear what you are hearing. So they're not very good for commuting, but they're very good for personal listening. Cool, now that we know about different kinds of headphones, let's understand what produces sound in them or what drives the sound in them. Drivers. In this video, we're going to talk about only one kind of drivers, and that is dynamic drivers, just for the sake of simplicity so that this video doesn't become a 30-minute long video. There are four other kinds of drivers that you can see on the screen. And if you want to know more about them, by the way, they have a lot of cool science behind them. You might want to jump down in the comment section and just let me know if you want a separate in-depth video on the different kinds of drivers in headphones. Now, to understand how a driver works, we're going to cut open a pair of headphones. The drivers in your regular headphones are pretty much the ones that you find in much bigger speakers, just in a much more miniaturized form. The mechanism of drivers is surprisingly simple. You have three basic parts: the diaphragm, or this plastic guy right over here. You have this magnet, and then you have this red coil that sits inside the magnet but is attached to the diaphragm. Now, this entire thing is powered by these two wires on the back that take electricity from your smartphone or your laptop. Now, before we start talking about how the drivers work, you may want to go back to my previous episode of Elemental where I talked about wireless charging, which talks a lot about electromagnets. You might want to watch that video and come back, because then you'll have a much clearer understanding of what I'm talking about right now. Now back to the demonstration, this red coil is basically an electromagnet and it is sitting inside this bigger magnet, which means there will be a repulsion whenever electricity is applied to it. Now this diaphragm too is attached to the electromagnet, so it moves along with it. And all of this happens several times in a second. Now if it moves slowly, it will create a low frequency sound, something like that's a low frequency sound right there. And if it moves faster, it will create a high frequency sound, something like that's a high frequency sound. Now typically a larger driver would produce better sound, but that's no longer the case because there is no direct correlation. And also if you're going for smaller in-ear headsets, you will observe that they come with different kinds of drivers and they come with multiple drivers. So one driver is responsible for creating lower frequency sounds and another is responsible for creating high frequency sounds. Now this makes a good segue into frequency range and frequency response. Humans can typically hear sounds of frequencies ranging between 20 Hz to 20 kHz. Lower frequencies, like I said before, are like bassier sounds or like and higher frequencies are and the mid frequencies are basically the sounds that we make from our vocal cords or something like a guitar solo and a lot of other instruments like piano. So those are the different kinds of frequencies that you would be encountering. Now moving on to the next topic, and that is frequency response. This is kind of tricky because I just told you about frequency range, and that is the lower value and the upper value. Frequency response is basically a more elaborate description of how well your headphones can reproduce certain kinds of frequencies, and this is given to you in the form of charts. Now frequency response charts normally look like this. A dip in a certain frequency means that the headphones cannot produce that frequency of sound very well. Now if you're a bass head, you may want to keep an eye on what's happening on the left side of the chart. If you're into more instrumental stuff, you may want to keep an eye on the mid highs and the highs. The chart that you just saw also tells you a lot about the sonic signature or the sound signature of a particular headset or even brands altogether. This is a V-shaped sound signature, mostly suitable for bass heads as lower frequencies are more pronounced. You also have a U-shaped sound signature, which is a lot like a V-shaped one, but it's a little less dramatic in its, dip. And you also have neutral headphones, which are very good for editing videos and producing songs, because at that time you don't want any particular frequency to be messing around, because you want it to be as neutral as possible so that everyone can enjoy your videos and your music. Now let's move on to sensitivity, and this is measured by another fancy term, which is sound pressure level or SPL. Now this is closely linked to loudness, but it is not loudness. Loudness is a more subjective thing which is perceived differently by different people, and it relies on a lot of other factors than sensitivity. Now sensitivity basically means how efficiently an electric signal is converted into an acoustic signal. The unit of this is decibels of SPL per milliwatt. Long story short, without a ton of physics, most headphones are within the range of 85 to 120 decibels SPL per milliwatts. You basically want your headphones to be loud enough to drown out the sound of city traffic, which is roughly around 85 to 95 decibels. But if you want to save your ears for the rest of your life, you may want to consider the noise threshold or the pain threshold of your ears, which is 120 decibels. So try not to listen to volumes that are higher than that so that you can save your ears just in general. This paves the way for total harmonic distortion or THD. If you get a little too excited at times and you listen to music at really high volumes, you may have observed that your headphones cannot keep up with it and they start making that crackling sound. That happens because the diaphragm on your headphones cannot be moved fast enough and it cannot keep up with the volume that you're trying to play the songs at. Now, THD is normally denoted in percentage figures, and anything below 1% is good enough if you're buying a pair of headphones that are under 20,000 rupees. But if you're buying anything above that, some headphones can even take it to a 1/10 of a percentage, which is very good, and it'll give you really good results as well. Now let's talk about the one thing that is the most difficult to wrap your heads around, and that is impedance. It is barely seen, it can barely be heard, and it is used a lot in marketing jargon. What is it about? Now, when electricity tries to pass through a headphone, it encounters some resistance through its various components, be it the wires or the coil that we saw before. And it's this resistance that is called impedance, and it is denoted in ohms. If you have low resistance in a circuit, you will see that the current can easily flow in it, which means you can easily power your headphones using smaller devices like your smartphone. But if your headphones have higher impedance, you will see that if you connect your smartphone to these, you wouldn't be able to hear a lot of sound. And that is because you will need more current to power these, and that means you will need an amplifier. Where you see low impedance headphones can often have that hissing sound that is very annoying for some audiophiles. In order to get rid of that, people buy high impedance headphones. But it is very important to know that you need to match the impedance of your headphones to that of the source. Your smartphone is capable of producing these days around 100 ohms, but in earlier smartphones it was restricted to around 32 or 28 ohms. So if you're buying a pair of headphones that are able to support lower of impedance, it'll be perfectly fine. But if you're going for something high, that is basically for professional use, and it's gonna cost you a lot more basically. Now, if you're a person who listens to music with your eyes closed, you must have imagined yourself into this three-dimensional world in which you're trying to figure out how far an instrument is from the other. This is called soundstage. Now, it's not that big of a deal if you're listening to music that has only one instrument and the vocals, or just a few bunch of instruments, but it means the world to people who listen to orchestral music or music from artists like Snarky Puppy. A wider soundstage basically means you would be able to distinguish how far different instruments are from each other, but this of course depends on the source file or the source audio track that you're listening to, and a lot of other factors like the kind of hardware that you have that your pair of headphones are plugged into. Now let's wrap this video up by understanding noise cancellation and noise isolation. Now, active noise cancellation works with the help of clever physics and clever algorithms in which you use an opposite wave of ambient sound to cancel out noise. This works very well in scenarios where you have a uniform source of noise like that of a jet engine or just city traffic, but wouldn't work very well if you have a noisy kid in your house. If that sounds like Hebrew to you, you may want to check out the video that I made on active noise cancellation a few episodes ago in Elemental, so highly recommend that. Go watch it and come back. Now, let's talk about the other thing. Since this is being done with the help of clever physics and algorithms, there's one more way that you can avoid noise, and that is by using passive noise isolation. Yes, it's not passive noise cancellation, because cancellation is an active process and isolation is a passive process. Now, passive noise isolation happens with the help of materials like foam paddings around your headphones, and also tips which may come in silicone or even foam tips. So all of these things are basically materials that block the sound or just create a barrier from coming in to your headphones. So essentially you're ending up with this bubble of sound that only you can experience. And that brings us to the end of this episode. If you learned something new, do not forget to share it with your friends and like that video, because it helps us massively. And also, we are planning to make another one of these headphone jargon explained videos. So if you have any words that you're not able to understand, just put them down in the comments. I'll try my best to explain it as simply as possible. And remember that new Elemental videos come out every Sunday at 1 PM. So do not forget to subscribe to our channel. And for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.